This is the agenda. Type of service provider is the first module I will cover. So business model. And then, of course, this is very high level, what they are doing, okay? Which type of service provider, not only service provider, but also the companies which are day by day interacting with the service provider networks, like content providers, CDNs, etc. They are doing the peering, they are getting the transit from each other, etc. Those companies, of course, is providing broadband access, internet access, VPNs, so on and so forth, wholesale or residential. And once we understand the business model, in the second module, I will introduce those technologies like DSL, FTTX, those kind of things. Now you will see the detailed agenda. Third topic of today will be physical infrastructure, not only the wire. I'm talking about fiber, SDH, DWDM, etc., but also the POP locations, how they are connected, what generally people are locating in their POP, etc. Okay, in real life. First three topics, the modules, will be the basis for us to understand the 4, 5, 6, and 7. If you don't listen today very carefully, you will not be able to understand 4, 5, 6, and definitely not 7. Okay. First one, type of service provider. I will cover broadband providers, and then transit service provider. What is transit service provider? What is broadband and what they are doing? Content providers. Then CDNs, cable access provider, mobile operator, WISP. Of course, this is not maybe the whole market. I think covering the most important ones. Okay. I am going through the detailed agenda, by the way. Broadband technologies. As I said, after business, then we will cover the technical details of those technologies like DSL, then FTTX architecture, lots of them actually, I think more than 20 different definitions on the FTTX, fiber to the premise, fiber to the cabinet or curb, fiber to the home, and fiber to the node, fiber to the antenna, fiber to the business. Lots of them. I think some of them I will cover. For me, it's important to understand what are the differences and the pros and cons of different architectures. And I am saying here with the different PON technologies. PON stands for passive optical networking, but I will also share some people are doing with the active equipments like switches, etc. Then we will talk about cable broadband, like cable TV companies. Then they are now, of course, providing a broadband service over their HFC or coaxial hybrid fiber coaxial infrastructure. We will talk about cable broadband may not be common in your country, in your region, but especially in United States and Europe, it's popular, especially in United States. I think right now the first and most common broadband technologies is the cable broadband. Comcast, for example. Okay, we will talk about which companies are doing which type of business and providing these services. Then we will talk about some wireless stuff. I think I didn't include the WiMAX in the slides, but you have mobile broadband as well. Last but not least, today the last topic will be the physical things like, as I said, fiber optic and how it works. Then SDH Sonet, are really people still using it? Why Sonet versus DWDM, etc. We will talk, and how service providers are using and leasing and getting the IRU from each other, those kind of things. Then how internet traffic is carried between the countries, between the continents. Okay, you need to understand it. Of course, between the continents, most common way is the submarine subsea cables, and we need to understand how it works. I have end-to-end architecture also there. I will show you what is SLT, what is repeaters, and what are the important parts of the architecture of the submarine, so on and so forth. Okay, are you going to cover 5G SP network architecture? Nobody deployed 5G, of course, but people are still talking about. I will tell you why people are looking for 5G, okay, and what will be the frequency, space, etc. once I go through the evolution of the mobile broadband. Then we will talk about some physical locations, like what's POP location and how they are connected, what people are installing in the POP location, why they are choosing the physical POP location in different part of the city, different part of the countries, those kind of the selection of the POPs and also naming definitions of the POP. I mean, like some people call access POP, backbone POP, or depends on the hierarchy, or some of them has just flat hierarchy in a ring or hub and spoke, etc. They are really different, and of course, different physical architectures has different, scalability characteristic, the redundancy, the cost, so on and so forth. We'll talk about those, and then lots of definition you will see here. What is meet-me room in the data center? What's carrier hotel, and rural areas, the urban, suburban, those kind of definitions service providers are heavily using. And if you are going today to work, or if you are working already in the service provider, you need to understand all these definitions. Once you understand first three topics, these physical, then the business models, etc. As I said, interconnection. Understanding interconnections will be much easier than understanding the BGP and MPLS services, and the infrastructure, BGP infrastructure will be much easier. How? For example, there are many service providers currently operating in multiple countries, and per countries, for example, I will introduce you, some providers are just doing a single IGP, single BGP, okay? So they are extending in 5-10 countries, which they have a presence, their IGP network and as well as BGP network. But some of them is using different IGP and also different BGP autonomous system per country. So what are the pros and cons of doing different design like this? When I talk about BGP, you will understand those. But there will be lots of definition which I will use from these first three modules. So that's why please follow very carefully. So 4, 5, 6, I will not go to the detailed agenda. You can check later on. But next week, I will introduce the detailed agenda as well, of course. 4, 5, 4, and 6. Many people right now in the service provider engineering group, they are talking about the MPLS traffic engineering, fast reroute, segment routing, those kind of things. They have their already MPLS network. Of course, not everyone has MPLS backbone in those service provider guys, but some of them have just IP core. You may not believe, but some of them just has layer 2 core. Between 50, 60 POP locations, they have VLANs they are carrying. No IP, no MPLS, so on and so forth. Lots of RSTP they are dealing with. So anyway, once we come there, I will mention. And hopefully next week we can finish all this, but I have also some case studies, of course, for you to understand how this dispute starts and how it affects the end customers, let's say between Comcast and Level 3. Level 3 is one of the Tier 1 service providers. Of course, I will teach you what is Tier 1 service provider, global Tier 1, local Tier 1, let's say, okay, and regional Tier 1, etc. Then Comcast is one of the biggest eyeball networks, okay, biggest residential customer networks. Basically, once they go in a dispute, how it affects the end user, and not only even end user, the other companies as well, other ISPs. Then, for example, one online gaming companies, why latency is very important for them, and how, for reducing the latency, what they are doing, okay? Let's say we are playing online game. If I am shooting you, you need to die immediately, right? So latency is very important. And or finance networks, very important. Can this company, for example, get the satellite service from the Geo satellite? I will show you what is Geo, what is MEO, what is LEO, etc. But let's say with the 500 millisecond latency Geo satellite service, no. But I will show you the real example. Actually, lots of service providers are having, they have to receive the geo-based, geostationary satellite service, mainly for backup, okay, to their submarine or terrestrial cable, if it's landlocked country, but they are receiving satellite service. Of course, if they are using that satellite to provide an internet to their customer cannot be gaming company, for example. And I will show you, for example, not only two African service providers. This is the real example. That's why I think all these case studies are real examples. It could be any companies. Let's say I am the customer of one service provider. You are the customer of another service provider in the same country. Okay, and our service providers are doing the peering or getting the transit from the different countries. Between you and me, our traffic has to go through that another country. In that case, okay, if they don't have any direct connection, or if they are not getting the service, the transit service, let's say IP transit from their upstream ISP in the same country. So this kind of things we will talk. Then basic IXP design. Of course, I will introduce what is IXP, then the switching fabric, etc. in the module 4. Then it will be much easier to understand here in the case studies how IXP, Internet Exchange Point, is set up.